ladies? We are so excited to have you with us today. Today, Women of Excellence is launching our Truth Table Talk Show, where we have multi-generational conversations with women about topics that are important to them. Now, usually, Pastor Christina Davis is here to be able to be the primary host for the talk show, but unfortunately, she had a pastoral emergency right before we went live that she had to take care of. So our prayers are definitely with her, but we're excited that we have three amazing guests to talk to us today about women's health. So can you all introduce yourselves?
Good morning. My name is Daisy Jennings, and I am really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. I'm Minister Michelle Ridley Washam, and I'm very glad to be here and to be with you ladies.
Good morning. My name is Hannah Elliott, and I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. So let's jump right into the questions. So we'll jump in with an easy one. So as a wife, as a mother, or even as a single individual, how do you prioritize your health and wellness on a daily basis?
Me first?
Absolutely.
Okay, so prioritizing on a daily basis is really hard as a wife and a mother of four and a full-time employee, and also a co-business owner. So it looks different on different days. And honestly, I need to do a better job of prioritizing my self-care on a more regular basis. I can remember when my older kids were smaller, self-care looked like us going to the movies, and I would like put them, you know how you go in the movie theater and there's like the section where there might be like 3 chairs that are against the wall, and I would put them on the inside, make sure that they had all their snacks, and then I would lean back in the seat and take a 2-hour nap. Don't y'all go nowhere, you need to use the bathroom, let me know. That's what self-care used to look like for me then. You know, now it looks a lot different. Some days self-care might look like I am gonna run to Target, grab me a Starbucks coffee on the way in, and I'm just gonna browse the aisles with my AirPods in, listening to some music, or maybe talking on the phone. And if I escape the house, I might not come back for about an hour and a half. I do prioritize like my monthly massage, and you know, things like getting my nails done and my hair done. But you know, other than that, I feel like self-care has been a challenge, if I'm honest. Like with having 2 small toddlers and just so much going on in my life, self-care in this season has been a challenge. So I'm excited to talk about it and, you know, get it back in the forefront of my mind that it's necessary. Self-care is not selfish. It is self-preservation.
Yes, and I think you bring up an interesting point that as women, we have multiple demands from the time that we wake up in the morning until the time that we get home. And one of the challenges for me was sort of that sense of like wife or mom guilt, that if after, you know, I've gotten up in the morning and then I go to work and I come home like, oh, I really should be cooking dinner right now, or I really should be spending time, you know, with my children, as opposed to like going to like a fitness class, or, you know what I mean, even like making the Target trip. And so I definitely think that you have to do that self-talk to be able to say, like you said, self-care is not selfish, but it's really preservation. It's really you being a better you so that when you show up, you can really be present and healthy.
Yes, yes. Yeah. I agree, and one of the things that's very important is that it changes. Coming from a multi-generational, it changes over our life time, our life experiences, and what's going on in our life. So you're also asking about health too. So you have to sit down and put those appointments so that when it's time for you to go for health appointments, doctor appointments, you need to do that, especially for women. And then we have to have that mental wellness. Okay, so sometimes it's just, sometimes Daisy said just getting a nap or whatever, but sometimes you just need to go out, you need to take a breath of fresh air, you know, and just say, let me connect with God for a minute, and then go back in the house and, you know, deal with all of the things that are going on. But, you know, do we really have a plan? Like, okay, as a wife, I got to plan what the meals are. I struggle in that department, like what's going to be for dinner today, you know? I'm like looking at 4 o'clock and it's like, what? But so that's like wifely part, and then we won't get into the other levels. And then as a mother, I'm at a different level now, but I'm still being motherly to my daughter. And then, you know, having to deal with health, and then making sure that what you do in front of your children is something that they see, that you is an example to them, I should say, that they will see that you're taking care of your health too. So I really look at it that way because it's different levels. When you're younger, like you guys are, you're just doing it a different way. But when you get older, you have to keep moving up. You have to keep changing. You have to keep shifting.
And how about you, Hannah? How do you prioritize your health and wellness?
Okay, I would say as a single person, it looks a little different. It does change with the seasons, but I think especially now that I'm in my 30s, realizing that it matters, and then trying to take initiative and steps to do that. So keeping my time, being mindful of my time, and then I have a journal now and a planner, and I write my different events and stuff in there. And so just trying to keep in step with that, but it really does help. I used to always be like, why, like, do I really need a journal? But it helps. And doing those things, making
Yes.
time for yourself. I love getting my nails done.
We know that
They
she
look good
loves
today
her
too,
nails.
girl. They look good.
That's true. That has to be her outlet. I'm gonna get my nails.
That is my thing, and I love like pedicures.
Yes.
I haven't gotten to the space of getting massages once a month, but I think I'll add that in there soon.
Yeah.
But that's my idea of like self-care.
Awesome. So now, can you talk about a time when you looked up and you said, wow, I am unwell? And when we think about health and wellness, that can deal with your finances. It can deal with like your career. It could be your emotional health. It could be your physical health. There's so many dimensions of wellness. So can you talk about a time when you looked up and you said, man, I am unwell in this area? What were the indicators for you? And then how did you deal with it? What were some of the strategies that you used to get to a healthy place?
I was in a very a toxic relationship, toxic marriage, and I would wake up with heaviness on my heart each and every day, and my only outlet was, just being at work, was just to get out of the environment of that home, and I knew things weren't right. I knew things weren't well, and I knew that a change would come. And I would cry out to God, God, please tell me what it is that I need to do, and help me make that change. Because it's one thing to really look at the situation that you're in, but it's another to make the move. And you really have to ask God for that confidence and that strength, and just even being a woman of God, sometimes you're thinking like, should I do this? Would that be the right thing to do? Because you don't want to be judged, or you don't want people to say that you jumped up and you did the wrong thing. But it was unhealthy mentally and emotionally, and ultimately later I would find it was unhealthy for my health as well, because we as women internalize things. You can say that you go out and you scream all you want, but there's a stress level that you internalize, and that's unhealthy physically, emotionally, and mentally.
You said something really important, is that your internal stress, that you'll be able to see the physical indicators of that. And so that could be even, small diseases, tiredness, different things like that. Those will sometimes be the indicators.
Anxiety,
yes,
depression.
anxiety.
And you don't want to admit to
Yes.
those things, especially as women of God.
Yeah.
But we do allow it to happen if we're not making a change. When you see that something is not going right, and this could be a job, this could be in any situation, you have to make a change somewhere and say to yourself, what should I do, God? And ask Him to direct your path. And I tell you, things start to happen when He does that.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with you, Coco. And your external environment will begin to reflect when things are not well internally. I can always tell by like the way my room will start to look, or maybe even my car, if I'm not in the right state of mind. And I'm like, okay, when you clean, you start to realize, okay, I'm feeling better about the situation or whatever's going on. But it'll start to show in those areas, and then I'll have to like get back to praying or talking to God about what it is that I'm dealing with.
So you mean like you're not wanting to do certain things?
Yeah.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like something that happens.
Lethargic
Yes.
or-
Yeah, I could talk about financially, emotionally. Like recently, I just had this awakening. Like, hey, you're making a lot of money, but you're not saving any of it. You know what I mean? And I started to think about, okay, so this is a time of feast, right? So how do we prepare for what could come? And not to say that it will come, but how do you prepare for that? And for me personally, I had to take the step because I have a shopping problem. And I would just be like, I have this extra money.
You're not alone. I'm the
And not
spender.
necessarily for me, like I'll buy everybody else stuff. I'm
Right.
buying the kids stuff, taking everybody out for dinner and stuff like that. And I had to kind of get a grip on myself. Like, okay, and a part of that is also because being a single mother for 15 years and having the responsibility of taking care of everything, I was always broke, you know? So when I got to a place where I had extra, it became like, I just became obsessed with like doing things that I couldn't do before and giving my children experiences that my older children didn't have. So I was just spending all of this money. And one day I looked up like, wow, I really wasted all of this money. And so now in the past, it's only been 2 weeks, but I'm still in recovery. I'm not eating out. I allow us one time a week where we might order dinner instead of me cooking. But in order to replace that, I make sure that there are quick meals in the house. So we're not gonna. I don't feel like cooking every night. I'm guilty of it. So let's just make sure that there's something in here. And I do have an awesome husband that will cook. So thank God. But it's just been a crazy season for us, even with that. So financially, I'm getting to a better place because I realized that I was using my finances as a way to cope with struggles and as a way to make myself feel better about things and, also to forget about the past. So I realized that I was unwell in that regard. Thank you, Jesus, for helping me. Because we have goals, and in order to get to that, we have to do a better job of, just putting things in their proper place. So
That's good. I wasn't going to even get into all of our shopping things.
Right.
Thank you for your revelation, Daisy. Helped us all.
Especially during the pandemic, all the Amazon
right,
boxes.
Amazon.
It's like always ordering.
Wait, while I have been off for a while, I've been scrolling Amazon big time. So
And I have
thank
this
you for
app
the
called,
revelation.
it's not an app, it's a group on Facebook called Thrifty Babes. And they basically post all the Amazon deals all day long.
Oh my goodness.
It was terrible. I was buying stuff that I didn't even need. And it would come to the house and I'm like, what's in this box today? Oh, combs.
Oh my gosh. Online shopping has taken us to a whole nother level.
Yes, it has. Absolutely. Now, ladies, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so for all of the survivors or those that are currently going through a breast cancer journey, we stand with you today. We are praying for you. And for those, again, that are survivors, we are so excited to just celebrate the ways in which you are just moving forward in health in this season. And for those that are still walking through it, continue to be encouraged. But we're so excited that we actually have a survivor that is with us, Minister Michelle. Let's just clap it up for her, ladies. Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
So, Minister Michelle, can you talk to us about your journey?
Yes, I can. How long do we have? But this was not my first time with cancer. I had it back in 2018, and it was a very stage 0. It was in the ducts, and it was a very different kind of surgery. This one, however, threw me off. So on May 17th, I go to the doctor and my normal mammogram. And let me just emphasize that prior to going there, this place is going to close. So these doctors will no longer be my doctors. And I'm going in and the place is half empty, but I'm just going to get the mammogram and leave. And my surgeon is still there. And he says, I'm concerned about a spot. Anyway, 2 or 3 days later, I had to have a biopsy, and it came out that I did have cancer, this time in the breast. And so I can't begin to tell you that when you hear that you have cancer, that there's all kinds of things come up in you, the fear, I'm going to say that word, the anxiety, like how far advanced is it? There's so many questions that you have. But what it was that there are options. Now my doctors can't do this surgery. I have to start all over with brand new doctors. And so because I went through it with them before, it definitely created an environment of anxiety. And so thank God I had my daughter with me through this. We had to start and go to Fox Chase and, meet brand new doctors. All kinds of tests have to be taken. on your body. It's a lot. It's a journey, but it's necessary so that they can discover where it's at, and you appreciate it because you don't want them just going into your body. Now the options. Okay, you can have this done. You have your whole breast is going to be gone, and we're talking breast cancer. Your whole breast is going to be gone, and this is something that no matter what, when a woman hears this, it's difficult to put that into your mind. It's going to be gone. But you have to think the cancer is going to be gone. So then there was, how it would be, everything was going to be reconstructed in the surgery. I hear all that. I get ready for it. Come around to work. I get prepared. Everything's going to be done while I'm gone. You guys, it'll be 8 to 10 weeks. I hear all that. But nothing could prepare me for the day after the surgery when I woke up and there's leg compressors and all kinds of tubes and drains and things that were going on with my body. And it was very uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. And I really am saying this because I want to talk to women. Sometimes when women go through different surgeries, whether it's cancer or whatever it is that's going on, it doesn't have to be breast cancer, there are other cancers going on. We need to talk to each other because the saving grace to me during this time was being able to talk to other women that have been through it, that could say to me, here, I know what you're saying, use this, put this on, because you're talking about your whole entire body. But I wake up this particular day and I don't even want to get up out of the bed. I don't even want to go to the restroom. And I can't anyway because I'm on a walker. And I'm bent over on this walker. And all I could do is say, well, God, thank you. Because there's things that could happen when you're in a surgery. But the key point to this was that when the doctor walked into the room and said, you're cancer free. And I had to go back a couple more times because there's a pathology, I'm sorry, pathology tests and things that have to be done. But I was so grateful to God. And I could go into a whole long story of this, and I'm sure other women have this testimony and they could talk about it as well. But the most important thing is that I went and got it detected early because it could be at different stages and it could be moving aggressively. And I didn't have to have radiation or chemotherapy.
Wow, that's
And
so awesome.
can I tell you that that was causing me anxiety as well? Many people, and I don't, against anyone that had to have it, but I didn't want to have to worry about dealing with that every day. So it's been a journey. It's been a journey. And here I am. Um, this is 10 weeks. And praise God.
Yes, yes.
And I
And
gotta
you look fabulous.
thank you. And I gotta walk a little slower because of the different places where the surgery was, and I gotta take things a little bit easier. But I'm so grateful that I'm here. And I know that when we go through these things, people always say experience teaches, but we wouldn't have those experiences if God didn't give them to us so that we could share them. So that when another woman goes through it or anyone goes through any kind of situation with that disease, I can share and say, you're going to be all right. I can share and say, maybe go get a second opinion. There are so many different layers to having to deal with this kind of situation with cancer. And people are dealing with ovarian cancer. There's so many levels of it. When you go to like a cancer treatment center, you're looking at men, women, young people. Anybody could have this cancer, and so you're relating on a different level. You just say hi to each other, and so someone will look and say, what are you in for?" Was yours in the breast, yours in, no, mine is in my kidneys, mine is, there's so many different levels, but it makes me smile each and every day that I wake up, because I have to tell you, I asked the question to God. I don't know if people think that's wrong, but I said, why, God? And later he
That's
would
real.
say, yeah, well, do you want to do? Wait till you're 80 when your body might not be able to fight it? You're still able, your body is still wonderfully made, and God will take care of you. His healing power is so wonderful. but he puts these doctors in our place, that you have to look up to and say. So I'm laughing about it now, but ladies, it was a journey, and I'm so grateful to God for bringing me through, and I thank you for having me so I could talk about it, because I know there will be some women that will need that encouragement.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that you mentioned is early detection. Can you talk to us about some of the things that you may have talked with your oncologist or even a gynecologist about that women should be doing on a regular basis?
Key. A lot of times people go to their primary doctor. Your primary doctor does not know everything about your body. So, when people say, oh, I go to the primary doctor, I can also get my pap smear there and all that. You need to have your gynecologist as well. Now, in the prior, in 2018, I had not been to a gynecologist in about 4 or 5 years because I was able to get this thing called the wellness, what is it, diagnosis, and you could go to your one doctor and get. I went to a gynecologist, and to make a long story short, this lady asked me so many questions I didn't know. I was like, why are you asking me about my fingernails? Why are you asking me about this? She asked me about my emotional, what's going on in your life, if I was going, my marriage, everything. I said, wow, why she asked me all this? And it was her that made me go and get an ultrasound based on some symptoms that I was telling her. Mammograms do not catch everything. So when I had to go for an ultrasound, that's what discovered the first diagnosis that I told you about, which was in the ducts, the milk ducts. And so you really do have to balance those. When we talked earlier about going back and forth and having appointments, make sure you're doing your annual one. Make sure sometimes you don't have to go to the gynecologist every single year, but go to those appointments so that one, because one can tell what something's going on with your body that the other can't. And your other one might say, well, you should just go, like, oh, with your back. Well, I'm going to send you to a back specialist. Do that. And then I'll tell you about one more thing that happened in this area. I was not comfortable with the medical care, the way it was told. I got called on the telephone and told that I had cancer and that you'll have to take radiation for 6 weeks and blah, blah. It was a whole, like she was reading the script. And I was like, I don't like this. And it was my son. He said, are you going to get a second opinion? I said, yeah, I'm going to get a second opinion. And that's when I ended up at the Cancer Treatment Center. And it was so much more balanced because that's what they did. So I would encourage some women that if you don't believe that, go to get a second opinion. We have that right, whether it's insurance or what. Go and get a second opinion and going to specialists and check out, even reading on the people that are the cancer specialists. And if you find that there's some reviews or something that you don't like, just like everybody else, I'm sorry to say this, then don't go to that doctor, because I never went back to that doctor again based on how the other one, I guess was the physician's assistant that called me and talked to me on the phone, because you want someone that cares. You want doctors that care. If you build a relationship with them, those are who you want to go to. So early detection, second opinions, and most assuredly building relationships with doctors and following all of those. As you ladies get older, your bodies are different, your hormones are different. So you need to make sure that your doctors are paying attention to what's happening with your body, because you can't always tell what's going on.
And as women of color, I think it's so important when it comes to your physical health to advocate for yourself with the doctors that you are connected with. Just because statistics will show that women of color have completely different experiences towards the negative than sort of women that come from unmarginalized backgrounds. And so we're treated differently medically. And that's not just in the present, but there's also historical, indicators of that as well. So it is so important for you to advocate.
And I'll tell you, when I said, and I don't hope I'm not taking up too much time, but when I had to start over with the doctors, the first thing that went through my mind, sorry if I hope I don't offend anyone, is who are they? Who are these people? Are they people that don't like different people because of politics? I'm trying to, skirt around the issue. Are they racist? Are they interested in me? And the first thing I asked one of the doctors at one of the centers, I was like, are you basing this on what your standards are, your normal standards for all women are? Or are you basing this on my body? And he looked at me and he said, okay, I'm basing this on your body.
Yeah, and even when I was pregnant with my second daughter, I was intentional. So we were in Pennsylvania, and I had a gynecologist that I loved. And then when we moved, I was like, oh,
Oh, it's on.
I'm like, this is going to be very difficult for me. But I was intentional about finding like a black woman because I knew, for me, there was just comfort in knowing that there was somebody that looked like me, and I could ask them specific, questions, as a black woman, as I was going through that journey of carrying my second child. So yeah, that's definitely
Very important. And if women can find that. When I first moved up here, I had a black dentist, a black gynecologist, a black
Yes.
foot doctor, I got up here and I had to deal with a whole new world up here. But we should be able to trust the doctors, and they're getting paid the insurance. So we don't want to be another statistic.
Right.
And just a number in an insurance on an insurance plan. So that's very important to get checked and trust the doctors that are working on your body. We're daughters of the king.
Yeah.
I had to say that one in.
Well, Minister Michelle, we salute you. We honor you just for sharing with us and being transparent about your story. I know that it's been 10 weeks, but that's still relatively recent. So thank you for your willingness to share with us, to be honest with us, and then also for, as women, just to tell us some of the things that we can be doing. So we thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So we talked about being well when it came to your health, but let's talk about specifically your work environment and your career. So for all of you, how have you created work-life balance over the years?
What is that?
Right, it doesn't
I don't even
exist.
know what work-life balance is. I think it's balance in anything, right? Like there's always something for a period that's gonna go lacking. So there are days where I might be more focused on work. So then my life balance seems, like it's just out of whack a little bit. But then, like I said, there are days where I'm like, okay, it's my massage day. So that means I'm gonna work until this time today, and then I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna go and take care of myself. I'm gonna do the laundry today. You know what I mean? And I think especially for a lot of us now during this season of working remotely, working remotely and creating a work-life balance is seriously almost impossible. I had my desk in our bedroom, then I moved it downstairs to the dining room, then I moved it back upstairs to the bedroom, now it's on the third floor. Because what was happening is, it's dinner time, I'm cooking, but I'm thinking, because I can see the laptops on the dining room table, I'm thinking, oh, I have to answer this email, and don't forget about this person.
Right.
And it was literally like driving me insane. So now it's on the third floor where I can't see it, and I get up in the morning, I go upstairs to the third floor. That's my son's room, but he's at college, so I don't know what I'm gonna do when he comes back home. But it's just out of view. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to do a better job of creating work-life balance. But like I said, there are days where it just seems like it's impossible. And then add to that I have a child that requires special attention. So he's home with me, and I'm literally all day for like 10 hours. It's work and life presented right in front of me all day. So it has been a challenge, but we get through it, especially as women. We wear so many hats, and sometimes we don't even get to take those hats off. We just have to, put one hat on top of the other.
Right.
But that's where it becomes important that we are intentional about taking care of ourselves.
And I'll agree with you. Some days it may not work, it may not flow, but remembering that it's necessary, I think, has been top for me. Just trying to keep it in mind that you have to balance the two. And that planner saved my life. It's been saving my life. But yes, just trying to keep the balance of the two and remembering that you can't just work, and there has to be me time incorporated into that, I think. Yeah.
Now, Hannah, for you as a single person, how do you advocate for yourself in the areas that you're in? Because I can remember when I was a single, there would be times where I think there's a misconception that singles just have all the time in the world. You know what I mean? To be able to do everything. And I think that they have extra time. Absolutely. You know what I mean? More time. But I also think it could be different time. And so for you, how do you, you know what I mean, prioritize yourself? And really just how are you able to say no and not feel guilty about it? Look at
Well, I would say the past year or two was the season of no and having barriers, and having some wise counsel around me to remind me that I need to say no. And I think I've kept that in mind in this past season, and it's helped me a lot. And that way I can make me time, work time, and I'll get to you when I can. But being okay with your yes and being okay with your no.
Do you think that that happened like around 30? Because I remember, I'm
'Cause in
38,
20s
but
you're
I
just like,
remember it like
"I'll do
around
it."
somewhere around 30. Coco, you might remember, and I was like, I'm 30 now. And like you said, like no is a complete sentence, but I'm also learning recently, and I heard this in a book, that I've changed my mind. It's also that's as good an answer as yes or no, or I changed my mind about that.
And
And you
being
don't
okay
owe
with it.
anybody any explanations.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was a yes, now it's a no, or it was a no and now it's a yes, and I'm free with that. I'm okay.
Yes.
You'll be all right.
There is much freedom in that.
Yeah.
And just being like, my no is a no, my yes is a yes. But in the 20s, it was more like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And not really meaning it or wanting to do it. But now it's like,
and I'm
feeling
sorry. I'm sorry, Ashley.
No, go
but
for
do you
it.
feel like some of that has to do with like just like the desire to be accepted, where it's just kind of like you're saying yes to everything, and you just want to be a part of everything because you want to be accepted. But then something happens when you get into your 30s, and you just get a different type of freedom where it's kind of like, I don't care about what you think.
Yeah, and I think that managing people's emotions, you have to have a correct perspective about that. Like, it's one thing to know how somebody feels, but at the end of the day, it's not always my responsibility if I haven't caused offense or if I haven't been, like, irresponsible. Because I think, like, waiting till the last minute and saying no is very different than, you know what I mean, like a month in advance saying, I can't commit to this, right? And so at that point, if you have done your due diligence to be responsible and you're saying no, then it's not really your responsibility to always manage someone's emotion. You can give them options and say, well, I can help you in advance, but at the end of the day, one of the things that I fell into specifically in my 20s was I would feel bad, but the hard part, the flip side of it is that when you're actually doing it, your heart is not in the right place, you know what I mean? And you're an emotional wreck, and then then I found myself out of order in my home life, and so there's a ripple effect also to sometimes you really do need to say no, and it's okay to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I find that too, when you say work balance, work and home balance, and then ministry, and you throw that in there because as women of God, sometimes we run into those kinds of barriers or those kinds of situations where we're saying, can I really commit to doing this, and you're doing it out of spiritual. You're saying, I think God would want me. And we have to be careful of that because one of the things God doesn't want you to do is become overwhelmed. And so as women, mothers, we have to look at all of those situations to make sure that we're like, I'm got to make sure that I'm able to do it because one of the things that I struggle with, I don't want to do it and then do it halfway.
Right.
I don't want my heart not to be in, and then I don't want to start off doing it, and then it doesn't come out right. So those are things that we have to think of for those who work and then serve in ministry, and then you have to go home, and that gets hard at home because husbands might or friends might get a little resentful of, well, you're spending too much time doing X, Y, Z.
Now, has anyone been in a toxic work environment before, and how did you overcome that or deal with it?
I did prior to coming to the church, although there have been some situations in church, but I won't discuss those now. Prior to coming to the church, actually prior to coming up here, I worked for a television station. My degree was in speech communications, and I was desiring to work in the television field. I was really interested in being a weather woman, okay? Every time I look at weather women, I always think about, that's what I wanted to do.
It's not too late.
Well, anyway, I was in this place. I had come back from California back to Pittsburgh, and I come into this environment, and I'm so excited. And there's producers and directors and the on-air talent, and I'm working for the one that's the whole news director, and I'm sitting there and I'm smiling, and it's very little money, so I'm really doing giving a sacrifice. But around me are people that walk in the door and they get their coffee and they have a little bottle in the drawer and they pour that in and then they start taking pills, and then there's backstabbing and statements about it's not who you know but who you sleep with. And now this particular time I'm 31 years old.
Right.
I have my degree and I am a powerful black woman. I'm like, I'm not sticking with this. I'm not going through any of this stuff just to be on that. And it made me shift my whole direction of my career because I opened the newspaper one day, and I'm sitting how I dealt with it. I opened a newspaper one day, and it was a black-owned newspaper, and it was well known that this newspaper, if you saw a job in this newspaper, it was probably taken because it was always the leftover ones. But I made a call, and that's how I got the job that would move me up to the Lehigh Valley. Because I called, I said, God, I got to do something. I got to get out of this place. These people are, because we were talking earlier, people make the environment toxic. People and power and all kinds of other levels of underhanded things that happen behind closed doors. You start walking into a place and you find that the person that was there yesterday is replaced by someone else and no one knew. Something's wrong with that environment. So toxic environments, when we're placed in those, you need to make a change.
Yeah.
And it changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be up here if I had not made that change.
Yeah, one of the things that that have taken root in my heart recently, when I was in Cleveland, I was definitely in a toxic work environment. And for me, so before we talked about the ways that it comes out physically, I was basically coming to home and going to bed. Like, thank God for my husband, because I probably was depressed, honestly. Like, I was tired all the time. I didn't really want to do anything. There were even, I mean, this is the truth pay table, so I'll be transparent. In that time, I didn't even have the energy to, like, play with my daughter. Like, I was in such a terrible place. But recently, as I was going through some difficulties in my current job, the Lord challenged me around Romans 15:13, which talks about that God will fill you with joy and with peace, but you have to trust him. And the end of that scripture talks about that you might abound in hope. And so the Lord was telling me that joy, expecting good things, that's a choice. Like, I have to make a choice. Like, no matter what is going on in my environment, because I can't change people. I can pray about it and God can do it, but I can't change people. But what I can do is make a decision every day to have joy and expect good things. And from there, then I'll abound in hope.
That is good.
That's good.
So now we're in the age of exercise apps and, Peloton and, all of these different things. What are some of your favorite ways to exercise, ladies?
Again, I'm so sorry,
No,
y'all.
it's
Like,
okay.
I just don't
Listen.
have time for a lot of things with these two boys at home.
Yes.
And not just the two boys, but I'm a mother to a 21-year-old, a 16-year-old, and then the two toddlers. So I have to kind of find a way to be a mom in different ways
Yes.
to each of them. Like you mentioned, that even though your daughter's grown, you still mother her in some regards, and it's the same. So I find it hard at times to find time for myself, and especially because most of the time I do have the boys. There was a season where my husband and I were getting up at 5:30 in the morning and going to the gym. That lasted for about 2.5 weeks because I'm like, I am tired. So now one of the things that I do is just like once I'm done with my work day and I get the boys home, I'll take them for a walk. And I went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me to try to do that 5 times a week. We're at 4, where we just walk around the block, maybe for about 45 minutes to an hour, and they take their time. So it's not really like a power walk because they're exploring the leaves and everything that they can get into, but it is an opportunity for me to get outside. And I have done Pastor August Williams, her fitness challenges a couple of times. And she would send us like exercises that we had to do every day. And like, let's say if one day it was that you had to do 40 squats, right? I would be in the bathroom with my toothbrush timer. And it's like, the timer goes every 30 seconds. So I might do squats while I'm doing one area. Yes. And then it does the beep for you to move to the next section of your mouth. And I'm like holding the toothbrush and like doing leg lifts. You know what I mean? So just in order to be able to get it in, sometimes I'm standing in the kitchen and doing my exercises while I'm cooking, just finding a way, it's really hard.
No,
it is hard. And if anybody has any other suggestions, let me know because I'm trying.
No, it is hard. Yeah, during the pandemic, my second daughter, she was still an infant and she was still nursing. So like right around 5 or 6 in the morning, she would get up. And so I was like, okay, well, how can I maximize this time? So I would nurse her, pack her up in the car, and she would be knocked out. And then I would go to the park and walk around and then pray at the same time so I could infuse, like my prayer time and my exercise time. And then, once or twice I ran, but that was a lot, pushing that. That was a whole lot trying
good
to
idea.
push the stroller. But the walking, I could do that. And like I said, I was able to pray at the same time. So, I could mix my health with a spiritual discipline also, too. So, yeah, that worked. How about you?
Well, Ashley, this is the truth table talk,
Yes.
so I'm gonna tell the truth. I do not exercise.
No, that's fine.
The knowing that I need to is there. The things that I have done that I've enjoyed, walking. I've also enjoyed jump roping, and I did that in the beginning of the pandemic for a little bit, but I didn't stay consistent. A lot of people in my generation are, using the different apps, and they're in the gym all the time. I have not yet done that, but I do like to pay attention to what I eat, and I know it starts there with what I'm putting in me. So I try to monitor what I'm taking in, what I'm not. But I do want to get into the fitness part of health and wellness.
I think partners help. Like when you have a partner, so if you want to I don't know if I can meet you at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I might be able to set up the Zoom or something. But
Maybe on Zoom.
I do feel like having a
FaceTime.
workout partner or somebody to encourage you and motivate you, it does help,
Yeah.
And I'm competitive too. So if you put me in a group, that's why Pastor August's her sessions worked for me because I'm competitive. So it's oh, well, you lost 5 pounds? Well, I'm gonna go for 6.
All right. Well, right at this particular point, these past 10 weeks, of course I couldn't do anything, but I had 3 nurses coming in every week, occupational, physical therapist, and the regular nurse. The regular nurse is still coming. The occupational therapist, because I, can't really do anything, gave me these exercises. So, my recent thing is you sit there and you do your toes, and then you march in place, and I'm like, then you kick your legs, all this stuff like that. So I'm like, go ahead, girl.
You have your music in the background. Hey.
Okay, he said 30, I'm gonna do 50. I'm gonna do 50 because I have to keep myself encouraged because I cannot do the exercise I want. But now recently, even with the cane, I've gotten out to walk, like Daisy said.
Yeah.
And that's a blessing. And so if I'll be able to do for the next few months walking, that would be, I find walking is definitely therapeutic too. Just like you said, the kids playing with the leaves, but it gives you an opportunity to think about things, and like you said, every once in a while you might get a run. I won't be there for a while, but walking.
But Hannah talks about even the things that you eat is important as well too. And I think, Daisy, didn't you do a detox tea? Do you still do that every night? Or
I do. I don't do that every night, though,
Okay,
because
yeah.
I've started to feel like it couldn't be healthy. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right,
Like I'm eating junk food all day and then just gonna go and drink the detox.
You're talking about
tea.
that Chinese tea?
Yes, Coco. But I did learn another secret.
Okay.
With the tea, instead of drinking the whole cup, I'll just brew a couple tea bags and put it in the refrigerator. And then I just kind of sip on it throughout the week.
Okay.
Because now it's not really, causing me to do that heavy flush every day. But it's more so just keeping me, cleaned regular. I'm sorry, I know.
No, that's good.
Truth table, come on, talk about it.
That's
Talk about
good.
It's helping to keep me regular. And, like I said, I just felt like doing it so much. I was like, this can't be healthy.
Yes.
Like, I look great, but this ain't right. So I'd rather take my little, roll and be okay with that and be around for a longer period of time than for me to be putting this stuff in my body and, who knows what will happen 10, 15 years from now.
And that is so key too, because to stay regular, that is one of the most important things to our body. One of the first things they asked me after I came out, did you happen to pass gas yet? And I was like, why are you asking me that? Because there are
wanna
so
know if
many
things are
things that are
moving.
going on in the organ. That is so very important that we keep ourselves cleaned out. And I agree that, maybe a little sip a day or whatever is not so bad, We eat a lot of things, whether we know it or not, that are toxic. So we're actually protecting ourselves when you do that. So I thought that was good.
Now, ladies, we have some amazing products that we want to highlight. And so, as we kind of go through the True Table Talk shows, every month we're going to highlight a product of the month. And so, we have some apps to talk about today, but we also have some products in house. And so, can someone talk to me about Lume? Minister Michelle, you want to talk to us about it?
Yes, if you want to bring
And I have it here.
Lume out.
Lume products. Ooh.
Now, I don't want to do a commercial on this because I've seen some of the commercials that they do on Lume with the lady opening up and doing exercise. I'm sorry, ladies, I don't mean to be, but it is really good, and I've started to use it even prior to the surgery. But I was just thinking about it like, your general sweat every single day. But it actually has no aluminum and some other chemicals that are safe for women to use after cancer or any of the other kind of surgeries in their body. But it is great. This thing is supposed to last for 72 hours. So you can put it in nice places where you sweat a lot. I mean, I'm not going to get graphic, but you can also put it if you sweat here. You also sweat underneath your breast. So there are places that you can put this that are completely safe, and you don't have to worry about an odor coming on. So Lume, when they put that out, even though it's some silly commercials, it really does work. And it's a little more expensive. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's a little more expensive but it lasts longer.
And so Lume is better than normal deodorants like your Secret or Ban because it doesn't have the aluminum that can cause cancer.
Yes,
Okay.
and everyone may not be prone to that. I mean, when they tell you these things, like you shouldn't use these things, some people have been using, like I said, I was using Ban for years, and nothing's happened. They don't have breast cancer, so I'm not trying to say that deodorants cause it, but I'm saying that after a surgery, you have to be very careful of the chemicals that you use in your body, because now your skin every part of your body is sensitive, and your skin is more prone to the chemicals that you're placing in.
That makes me think about like how sometimes you might shave while you're in the shower, and you get out, you shave your legs, or you shouldn't shave your armpits, and then you get out and you just go right and put the stuff on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And your
Lotion
pores are
legs,
open.
And your pores are open.
Yes.
That's very. Do they have lotions too? I know this
I
not.
think it's a soap. It's
Okay.
a body wash, and there's a couple of other. There's a couple of other products that do come as a whole package that you could use. I think you can get some wipes. I might be wrong on that, but it's good for women because we have to deal with so many different things. Again, some of the stresses of the day make us sweat in different places, and one of the things women are careful of is they don't want to have those kind of things. And you got to go to a meeting, or you have to go somewhere, a place real quick. And you're like, okay, this is something that I can utilize. But I definitely would tell people to use it. It's a very good. And there's some other ones on the market too, but you can access that one right on Amazon. Another scroll,
Okay.
another scrolling.
Yes. Prime, it'll be here in 2 days. You can have your Lume by Monday. Awesome. And then Hannah, can you talk to us about Honey Pot?
Yes, I've heard good things about Honey Pot.
So we
Which one
have
is
a
that?
foam wash here. Ooh, cucumber aloe. Okay, we can stay fresh.
So my friend used the Honey Pot pads.
Okay.
She had really good things to say about them. A lot of people I know are sensitive. Their skin is sensitive, so they have to use a particular pad, and they advise that Honey Pot is a good choice, and it is Black owned.
Yes, I was gonna say Honey Pot is Black owned and it's owned by a Black woman. Yes. So up here we have the foaming cucumber aloe wash, as I said, and then we also have this refreshing spray, and then we also have intimate wipes also. And the cool thing about all of these products is that they're vegan, so they're completely made from like vegetable or herb products, which is awesome as well too. Are there any other products that you all use as women that you absolutely love? It could be like face masks or anything like that right now.
Yeah, I like to use baby lotion.
Yes.
I definitely use baby lotion. It keeps you just like it keeps a baby soft. It keeps women soft, in the wonderful places. And it's, again, there are a lot of African American women, so we were pointing out things about health, that our skin is sensitive. There are people running around that think they have acne, but it is not acne. It is soaps that they are using that have perfumes and different kind of things that we're not able to use on our skin. We're not able to use alcohols and different things because those things bring out different things in our face. And so when we use products that are natural or even made by black owned who have understanding of what actually we go through, those things are good. I actually did use the honey pot, not because I'm definitely well beyond the years of that, but because women get older and they have to face incontinence. And that's a whole nother issue. So the honey pot is also good for older women.
And not just older women,
Oh.
but like we said, women that have birthed children. You know, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, I gotta pee now. I gotta go now.
Right, you don't think about it much.
Right. There recently, I purchased a soap from I can't remember the name of her line, but Shelby Lawson's daughter Naomi, she created a line of soaps, and I bought. She had like this eucalyptus one, and I got it, and just to like kind of help to relax and stuff like that. So it's not really like to. I don't know if it was intended to have you smell good, but you know, just to kind of help you relax. And a pink grapefruit one that I thought might be, and because it's all natural, and I'm trying to get into that space where I'm not using the chemicals as much. And more so, I've learned, and this is not about the kids, but I'm even trying to be more conscious about the type of things that I'm putting on them.
Right.
Because
Right.
if you start putting that stuff on them early, and you know they're using these lotions and stuff for 20 years, especially with the way the world is going now.
Yes, things that are on shelves are not
Yeah.
always good for us or our children, you know. And I was saying that experience from when I was young, and this is back in the 50s, and they used a soap. I don't see it much. I'm sure it's around ivory soap, which was supposed, if you think about the word ivory, okay, it was supposed to make everybody like clean. So my mom did not know what was going on with my skin. I kept breaking out. Finally, it was take that soap and not use it, and my skin, changed. I was only about 5 or 6 years old, and so and I've had all my life sensitive skin. So, sometimes we don't identify it till we're older, but sometimes we're living with it all our lives.
Absolutely. And so now let's shift a little bit and talk about our spiritual health. How do you all feed your relationship with God?
You want to go
I-
first?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Praying and fasting have been the things that have helped me the most with keeping my relationship with God afloat. And praying when He tells me to pray, and not when I just, but just being obedient in that way. But fasting for sure, it definitely has been life changing. I've seen, strongholds in my own life and the life of people around me just break off, and habits that I may have had that needed to die. I've seen the supernatural power of that. So that's how I've stayed in that space.
I love it.
Praying, and talking to God and reading the Word. I mean, I can get into the Word and I can just go into a whole nother level. I was reading Colossians 1 this morning, and I went into this whole level. He is the image of the invisible God. I was, I start thinking about things, and just God's Word is so comforting and knowledgeable to us. But I talk to God a lot. I mean, my praying, I can go from, Father, you're so holy and wonderful. Then I'll be, God, why is all this stuff start happening? I just have conversations with God, because I remember a time in my life that I was in just not able to talk to God at all. I didn't stop believing in Him, but I was going through something in my life, and I was just like, I pray all the time, and He just doesn't hear me. And I promised after that, I went through that season, I would never go through that again, because I knew that was the enemy, trying to take the relationship that we have with God. The enemy will come in at any time with any situation, but he's trying to steal our faith. And so I was saying to God, don't ever let me go. Don't ever let me be in that. Let's talk every single day. So, it's like calling somebody else or texting like, oh, hi, how you doing, God? You doing okay? And tell my mother, I mean, just stupid stuff that keeps you not just, but dealing with God as your friend and your father. I mean, we have to really access those roles that we call upon him. He has all of those. And so why don't we talk to him more like that, you know? So I'm sorry, I went a little
No,
bit
I
over.
think that's great. One of the things you made me think of, for me, prayer and then time in worship is really important. When I think about some of the most difficult times in my life, I feel like I learned that my transparency in the presence of God allowed me to actually be emotionally healthy in my interactions with other people. You know, it's funny, like when you read the book of Psalms, you'll probably think that, well, David has some serious
Serious.
he has some serious issues, but I think it's actually really cool because it shows us that God wants to hear all of that. In fact, he knows all of that, right? And so if we can just be transparent with God with what we're doing as opposed to trying to handle it ourselves, it'll allow us to, one, get the direction that we need to be able to deal with things, but then also be at peace in our everyday lives.
And he had a heart after God. If he had all of the stuff that's going on with him, and we don't want to judge David, but then he would definitely listen to us, you know? Yeah.
Now there could be, this is the truth table, so let's be real. We all go through spiritual droughts in our life, right? So can you talk about a time when you went through a spiritual drought and how did you like pull yourself out of that? What did you do?
I ended up on the altar one day crying my eyes out. I ended up on and I felt like there was a scripture that says, I'm thirsting for you, and you know I need you. And I can't at this particular point remember everything that was going on, but it was just a lot of stuff. And I think I was allowing the stress to happen because of the things that were, going on, and I wasn't bringing it to God. And there was this statement that I hear clearly as God said to me. I was getting ready to do something. I was like, I prayed to him about it. That's what it was. Oh God, it was a house. God, I just wanted a house. Please just let me get a house and blah, blah, blah. And so I got up and I was like, I'm going to go call the lawyer and see. And I heard God say to me, let me do it. And I was like, oh, and it caught me so off guard that you pray to God about something and then you go try to fix the situation. And that was just one of the times I'm thinking of, but that was my time of really knowing that I was in a spiritual drought, that I had not trusted in God with all my heart and leaned into his understanding, and all of a sudden our relationship, and that's when I think I started, on the pathway, because you're never perfect in your relation. You know how when people are like, I've been knowing God, and I wish I could say that like that. I've been building on that as over the years. I didn't have that all the time. I didn't pray like that all the time. I didn't fast like that all the time. Can't I say, well, be obedient to his voice? I didn't always hear his voice. It's something that's always a constant process. And so we can't ever say to somebody, this is what you should do, and that's the way it is, and don't change it. Keep on doing it. Just when you feel like, oh, I need to repent, go ahead, do it. Confess with him. God, I'm struggling in this area. And keep on working with it so that you don't ever get to this point that you've got it all together, because there isn't ever that point that you have it all together.
Is it ironic, though, that you felt like you were communing with God, communicating with him, but still not putting yourself in the position to hear his voice until he was like, let me do it.
Right.
I can think of a season in my life, it was in 2019, and I was going through a lot with marriage, and I was pregnant at the time, and there was just a lot going on. And what I would do, I was also, because at the time Jude was still a young toddler, I ended up pregnant with Roman while Jude was 14 months. So I still think there was still even some postpartum that I was going through at the time, but pregnant again. So it's like just as my hormones were starting to get back to normal, now they're out of whack again because I ended up pregnant with Roman. And I was just going through a really difficult time. So what I would do was, there was the girl's name is Psalmist Rain.
Yes.
And I would just put her on, Jude is home with me. I'm still working a full-time job. And just listening to it, because I was going through so much that I didn't feel like I even wanted to talk to God. But I knew that I needed him. You know what I mean? It was like, I guess there was a part of me that was even mad at God. Like, why would you allow this to happen to me? I have my child who is a special needs child. I'm going through things in my marriage. And then you make me pregnant again, which, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't plan that. So I felt like that was like, God, like, you're going to have this baby. And I'm like, why? I don't want this baby. And even going through the struggle with my pregnancy with Roman, like I had to go to therapy because I just wasn't accepting that I was carrying a child. And Minister Kiana actually one day out of the blue, she sent me a text message and she said, you know, I was praying for you this morning. Now, the other crazy part is that nobody knew what was going on. Like, I would just continue with life, you know. My family knew, but outside of that, not a lot of people really understood the season that I was in. Minister Kiana surely didn't know, and she sent me a text message and she said, I was praying for you, and the Lord told me to tell you to listen to this song by Donnie McClurkin, I Trust You, Lord. And the first line to the song, I might need tissues, was, what if it costs my life? Will you still trust me? And what if it costs you everything that you love? Will you still trust me? And I just had this moment for about 45 minutes with God where I just fell to my knees. And it was like a breaking happened where probably for about a good 7-8 months, like I just would not talk to God. I was angry. And after that lifted, like after I had that moment, I feel like my relationship with God went to a whole nother level where I was just able to talk to him about everything because I was reminded in that moment that even though it looked as bad as it did, that God had a plan. And today, oh my gosh, it's totally different because I could have given up on everything. I could have left my husband. I could have run away. You know, I have been a single mom before. I raised 2 kids by myself before. But when I tell you, putting my faith and my trust in God, I am in a place now in my life where sometimes I just stop and I think about it like, wow, what if I had given up? What if I had thrown in the towel? What if I had just walked away? And the blessings of God that's just, I mean, they just coming out of nowhere sometimes. It's like, last week I got a call from my supervisor where she said, oh, I just want to let you know that they did an analysis, a market analysis, and they figured out that you're not making enough money. So, effective October 4th, you're going to get this raise in place. Oh, and don't worry, it doesn't affect your merit bonus for next year or your increase. I was like, what? I mean, God is just completely blowing our minds right now. But we had to go through that season, and I had to learn how to really rely and trust on God, trust in God, and put my faith in him, and just commune with him. I mean, like you said, Coco, there are days that I'm just all day long like, wow, God, oh, thank you, God. Okay, what do you want me to do with this, God? You know, and it's like, it might seem silly, but
it's our way.
And I recently said to a friend of mine, I know that sometimes it might seem like everything, my answer for everything is Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I said, well, it is. It's Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Because to be honest, I don't even know how I've made it through the season, this season that we're in, with so much difficulty, so much compounded on us. But my husband and I, we handle it with grace. We're communicating with each other. You know, we're loving on each other and just figuring out ways to make it work and working together. And I mean, God is just good, man. God is good. So thank God I'm not in that drought anymore.
Yes. You know, and I just wanted to finish with this. I'm older than you guys, so you sometimes, and especially since I've been like sitting when you have time to think, God will give you history lessons on where he's brought you from. And I had loads of time to think about how I came from Pittsburgh and how I, didn't have a father in my life and, just all these things and each and everything, how God's been with me through every trial, through every tribulation, and even the things that we go through. That those were to shape us and mold me to become a better woman of God. I don't know what I look like to everyone else, but I know what I look like to him. And he would say to me, if you could see you like I see you, you would know why I love you. And that's those times like when Daisy said, she know God loves her. She knows he loves her because he was bringing her through that. It's like, I'm taking you through this for a reason, daughter. But look how at the strength and look at the resilience. And of course, we'll just receive the blessings. Blessings on top of blessings. This healing is blessing. So I was like, man, God, you just keep on compounding because I could be gone or preparing for it, I could be gone and there would be other things that I would have to plan for, and I'm definitely not planned for those kinds of things. Amen. But I'm sorry, it was just so good,
that's so
Daisy. You
good.
brought tears to all. We all had to do tissues.
Right. Well, ladies, we have had an amazing truth table discussion today. I am so appreciative of all of these women. Thank you for all that you shared. Thank you for sharing your hearts. I appreciate it. I put these tissues up here and we needed them. Yes. So please just light up the chat for all of our guests that are on the panel today. If you're out there on Facebook and also on YouTube. Now, it wouldn't be Women of Excellence without a good giveaway, ladies, so we didn't forget. And so I have a couple of questions for you. So if you know the answer, the first person that can put the right answer in the chat along with your email address so that we can contact you will get our prizes. And so the first prize that we have is actually a spa package, an at-home spa package that we'll send to you. So come on, ladies, get ready. Right. And so a little bit ago, the ladies shared some of their favorite ways to be able to exercise in this season. So put in the chat some of the things that you heard. We need some good like Jeopardy music or something. Well, yeah, we'll look at it later. Yeah, right. And then our second giveaway, now this one I'm personally excited about it. I don't have one, but I've heard great things about it, is a weighted blanket. And so, yes, a nice plush weighted blanket. So apparently when you wrap yourself in the blanket, it feels like a hug and it's supposed to de-stress you. Right? Yes. And so the question for this one is, please give us the 2 products that we highlighted that women should use for women's health. So put it in the chat, the 2 products that we talked about. Yes. And so our last thing for today, ladies, if you can and if you're able to, just so that we continue to put on some amazing Women of Excellence ministry events for you all, to be able to minister to you, meet your needs, and then continue to have these amazing discussions, feel free to give an offering today. There's 4 ways for you to be able to give it, Shiloh. You can give in person if you would like to on a Sunday or come on a Wednesday when the church is open. You can also go to our mobile app, and that will take you over to PushPay. You can also go to our website and then also use the text function as well. Now, when you use PushPay, please pay under conference and then events as well so that we know that it's designated for Women of Excellence. Outside of that, the last thing that I wanted to share with you is November. We're going to come back again with another Truth Table talk show. But, ladies, we have something exciting. The first thing is you'll be able to tune in, not just on Facebook and YouTube, but you'll actually be able to be live with us in our quote-unquote studio, which is really just a sanctuary. But you'll be able to be in live with us, so we're going to do a live studio audience. And I am so excited about this because I am a foodie. We're going to actually have a live cooking demonstration and a live tasting. So if you're in the audience, you'll be able to get some catered food, which is super exciting. And we're going to have a great discussion about healthy relationships. We love you so much. Thank you and have an amazing day.